Hey there guys! I know this is going to be a little different, but I decided to start doing some top 10 videos on my channel. I mean, obviously it's going to be about gaming, but it's going to be like my personal favorites. So, starting off, we're going to be doing my top 10 favorite Super Nintendo games. Now, before you guys start throwing hate comments down there, these are going to be my top 10 personal favorites, like games that I grew up with. So don't be all upset because your game didn't make it on the list. As I said, these are games that I grew up with, so these are games that I personally owned. Okay? So if, like, I didn't own any Mortal Kombat games. I mean, I've played them before, but they're obviously not going to be on this list. These are some of my top 10 most favorite Super Nintendo games. So let's get started.
Alright guys, before we get into this countdown, let's talk a little bit, just a little bit, about the SNES. The SNES was a huge success following its predecessor, the Nintendo Entertainment System, which at the time, the SNES was the best-selling console of the 16-bit era, ahead of Sega. This console sold almost 50 million units worldwide, and that's saying something, especially for its time. The SNES was released in Japan in 1990, with North America in 1991. And it continued to sell its console and games for North America until November 30th of 1999, which was like 8 years. But in Japan, it continued to sell until September 25th of 2003, which was almost 13 years. It was one of the most amazing consoles for its generation, and many people still love it today, in which now people consider its games as retro, and retro games are coming back. They are coming back strong. And with that said, let's get into this countdown.
Number 10.
Sunset Riders. Sunset Riders was first an arcade game that was released in September of 1991. However, it was ported to the SNES in 1993. It was originally a 4-player game that you can play on the arcade, but when it was ported over to the SNES, you were able to play with 2 players. Now, in this game, you can choose between 4 of the bounty hunters: Steve, Billy, Bob, and Cormano. Steve and Billy wielded revolvers, while Bob used a rifle and Cormano used a shotgun. So it gave a bit of diversity between which players to choose from. What was nice about this is that you can actually move and aim in a direction for whenever you were shooting with your weapon. You can also jump between higher and lower floors by holding up or down while pressing the jump button. There was also a slide move that allows the player's character to avoid enemy fire by pressing the jump button while pressing down on the directional pad. While most of the game has the players moving on foot, there are 2 stages in the game that begin with a segment where players fight against bandits on horseback. And I remember how amazing that was as a kid, being able to ride around on horseback through the Old West, shooting at bandits because they were outlaws and you just wanted to be the hero and save the town and all that. Not only could you play through the game and beat it normally, you could then play through it again afterwards and beat it on a harder difficulty, which was actually pretty cool for the time. I just remember playing this game with my brother a lot growing up. We never actually owned the game, but we knew somebody who had the game, so we borrowed it a lot just so that we could play it. And it wasn't that long ago when my brother and I actually went back and played this game again, and we we just had like a really bad nostalgia trip. Bad in a good sense. If you have not played this game yet, I urge you to give it a try. I guarantee you will love it if you really enjoy those old Western style movies and games. Just go give it a try and you'll see what I mean.
Number 9.
Donkey Kong Country. Now, Donkey Kong Country is a platform game where players must complete many different side-scrolling levels and recover the Kong's banana hoard, which has been stolen by the Kremlings. The Kremlings were these gator-like creatures that were commanded by the evil King K. Rool. Donkey Kong is one of the 2 characters you can control in this game. The other one is Diddy Kong, which this is the first game that Diddy Kong has ever appeared in. And he appears as Donkey Kong's little sidekick, friend, buddy, whatever you want to call him. One of the things that made this game stand out is its beautiful 3D images in the background, which was amazing to see on a 2D platforming game. Characters were in 3D, the items were in 3D, the Kremlings and K. Rool and all other sorts of enemies were all in this 3D style. One of the things that made this game stand out is that you controlled both of these characters and you can switch back and forth between Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, where each character had its own strengths and weaknesses. Diddy was faster, Donkey Kong was slower, but Donkey Kong was a lot stronger and can actually kill certain enemies with a hit where Diddy was too light. I remember playing this game a lot growing up. My brother and I would play this game together where one of us controlled one character and the other one controlled the other. The stages really resonated with players because of how well they were designed. You were running through jungles, Aztec ruins, mines, caves, swimming underwater, all sorts of amazing things. Unfortunately, this was my number 9, so there are 8 other games that were better than this one.
Number 8.
Super Mario Kart. Who didn't want to play a racing game with some of the most popular characters in the Mario franchise? Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Bowser, Toad, Koopa Troopa, Yoshi, and Donkey Kong Jr. Huh. You would think it would be Donkey Kong, but nope, Donkey Kong Jr. This game is what started the Mario Kart franchise. Racing on tracks, throwing turtle shells around to damage players to take a lead, dropping banana peels to slip up the players behind you to help further your lead, grabbing a superstar to barrel through the tracks, ramming into players, knocking them around. This game was hectic. This game also supported 2 players to where you can race alongside your friends. It also had a battle mode where you can battle against your friend or brother or sister or cousin or aunt, uncle, father, mother, whoever is playing with you to try and claim that title of King of the Battlefield. And then there were all the items you can use, which were green shells, red shells, banana peels, stars, mushrooms, feathers, you name it. Yes, you can race as some of your favorite characters. The items were what made it so hectic and so fun. This was just one of those games where you could just go back and play over and over again. Its replay value was really high. I couldn't even think of somebody who hated this game. It was just that good. But unfortunately, there are still many others on this list that I thought were much more fun.
Number 7.
Killer Instinct. Now, Killer Instinct, developed by Rare and published by Midway and Nintendo, was yet another arcade game that was ported to the Super Nintendo. Now, I've actually never really been all that into fighting games, but this was one of those games that I actually owned and actually really enjoyed. All the characters were well designed and well implemented. Each of these characters had their own unique fighting style, some of which were harder than others. I'm looking at you, Spinal. This is that game that the popular phrase that people use, combo breaker, comes from. A lot of people probably have never played this game but still have heard combo breaker. What I loved about this game is that aside from fighting against friends and family, once you got somebody's HP down low enough, right before they're about to die, you can end up putting in a button combination that allows you to do an ultra combo. And similarly to Mortal Kombat, this game also had finishing moves, some of which where you transform them into a can of dog food, or Orchid just flashes her breasts at them. Killer Instinct was that fighting game that actually made me go back and play and actually practice on, to try and get down all the combinations of each character, to try and learn how to play as each character. But as far as fighting games go, this was just that one game that I just really enjoyed, and that is why it is on this list.
Number 6.
Super Mario World. Ah yes, Super Mario World. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, why isn't this higher on the list? What are you doing? Well, unfortunately, as some of you may have noticed in my recent playthrough of this game did not agree with me all that well. This is still one of the best games on the Super Nintendo. However, this game just made me rage so much on my latest playthrough. And that's probably the only real reason why it's been knocked down to number 6 on this video. But anyway, as most of you guys knows, the story is Bowser is still up to no good. He captures Princess Peach and stuffs all the Yoshis inside these little tiny cramped eggs, in which Mario must save everybody. Now, this is the first game that Yoshi appears in. Yoshi is basically the dinosaur equivalent to a steed for Mario to ride upon. Now, the music in this game was still very enjoyable, the stages were still wonderfully made, the colors were there, the overworld was just astounding. Everything about this game just worked really well, the controls were great, the style was great, everything was great. But, as I said, my latest rage fest with this game was the only reason why it's been knocked down to number 6. But with that said, this game is still overall a very great game, and I still love it to this day.
Number 5.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4: Turtles in Time. Now, this game was another arcade game that was ported over to the Super Nintendo. Turtles in Time was made by Konami, who were also the ones who made Sunset Riders. If you were to play Turtles in Time as well as Sunset Riders, you would hear a lot of similar sounds, especially in the music in both games. Now, Turtles in Time was your classic arcade beat-em-up. You, along with another player, can control one of the 4 Ninja Turtles: Donatello, Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. Now, in the arcade version, you could play with up to 4 people, but since the Super Nintendo only had 2 players available, you could only play with 2 people. In this game, Shredder steals the Statue of Liberty, and it's up to the Turtles to chase after him, even going as far as into the past and into the future to stop the Shredder and return the Statue of Liberty. This game was one of those games that I also played with my brother growing up. We played this game non-stop. Like, we played this, let's just say we played this game a lot, to a point where we knew what to do and we knew how to play it. One of the things that I really loved in this game was the music, especially when you were fighting against a boss. That music just really resonated with me, and I just loved how it sounded. Just listen. See, what did I tell you? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time is just one of those games that I can always go back to. It's just one of those games that I hold in a special place in my heart.
Number 4.
Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. Now in this game, you actually get to play as Yoshi while carrying on your back a baby version of Mario. The story for this game is that the stork was delivering baby Mario and baby Luigi to their parents, but along the way, trouble happened. Kamek intercepted the stork and ended up taking off with Luigi as baby Mario plummeted to the earth, fortunately landing on the back of a green Yoshi. Yoshi and his friends decided to help baby Mario rescue his brother from the clutches of the evil Bowser. Baby Bowser. What I really loved about this game was the gameplay, the controls, the music, the style, the colors of the background, how everything looked like it was drawn and colored in a picture book. All these components were what made Yoshi's Island one of the greatest games on the Super Nintendo console. This was the game that allowed Yoshi to shine as his own independent character, to allow him to go on his own adventures. It also allowed Yoshi to have his own games in the future as well. However, Yoshi still mostly ends up as Mario's trusty steed, for Mario to jump off of his back and drop him into a hole. Ah, that poor Yoshi.
Number 3.
The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Ah yes, everybody really loves this game. I am one of those people. In A Link to the Past, you play as Link, a young hero who ventures forth to save Zelda from the evil clutches of Ganon. Now, everybody knows the story of A Link to the Past. Link, hero, save Zelda, defeat Ganon. That's pretty much how all Zelda games go. The reason that this resonated with so many people, including myself, is the adventure that you can have. This game had a wide open world for the player to explore, so that players can do what they want at their own pace. They can explore the area, find new treasures, meet other characters, play mini games, all sorts of things. The main story, yes, it was linear, but it didn't force you to continue with the story. It didn't force you to go to this next temple ASAP. You can go there at your own pace. There were some items in the game that you can easily beat the game without, but yet it's there as a reward to help you progress through the game a little easier. That's one of the reasons why many people enjoyed this game, because there was still that sense of adventure. It wasn't basically an automated story telling you where to go, what to do next. You didn't have an annoying fairy constantly nagging at you and yelling in your ear, hey, listen, look, watch out. Yeah, you didn't have any of that. That's why A Link to the Past was one of the greatest Legend of Zelda games there are. Unfortunately, there are still 2 other games on this list that I enjoyed a lot more.
Number 2.
Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest. Now I know what you're thinking, how could I put this game ahead of the original? Yes, I know in the original you could play as Donkey Kong, but in this game you're able to play as Dixie Kong, who can swirl her hair around and help her hover over large gaps for longer distances. In this game you play as Diddy and Dixie on a quest to save Donkey Kong, who is captured by the pirate version of King K. Rool. Now this game, I'm not going to talk about its graphics, however, it is mostly pirate themed. As you play through this game, you're going to find a lot of pirate ships, whether over water, sunk into the ground, burning in lava. The bosses were so enjoyable to fight. The music was incredible. You've just got to tip your hat to the amazing David Wise, who composed the music for the Donkey Kong Country series. This game, again, was one of my favorites to play alongside with my brother, where each of us took control of one of the characters. This game also had bonus barrels where you perform a task to earn a creme coin, which grants you entry to the Lost World. The Lost World had the hardest levels in the game, and it also allowed you to battle King K. Rool for a second time. In addition to creme coins, this game also had Donkey Kong coins, or DK coins, which you had to collect in order to get 101% on this game. With the art design, the music, the cooperative play that I did with my brother, and the collectibles that this game had, that is why this game ranks so highly on my list. But what could possibly rank number 1?
Number 1.
Kirby Superstar. Oh yes. I've played this game so much growing up. So much with... I was always playing Kirby, my brother was always my little companion. This was the game that I played with my brother. There was no other game that we played together more than this one. Kirby is that pink puffball that swallows enemies and gains their abilities. Kirby is that character that has so many different abilities and so many different ways you can play as him. You can pick sword, bomb, fighter, bird, whatever you ended up enjoying so much. My personal favorite was Bomb Kirby. My brother's personal favorite was sword. Everybody had their preferences, and this game just lets your imagination run wild. There were many different modes you can play through, many different adventures. There was a gourmet race, there was an arena after you completed the rest of the game. This game just had so much cram-packed into just one tiny little cartridge. If you go and look back in my channel, we even played Kirby Superstar. I purchased the game on the Nintendo shop just so that I could play this game again, because playing this in an emulator just doesn't do it justice. There's just so much that can be said about this. I have such a strong affinity for this game. There's just been no other Super Nintendo game that captured my interest the way this game does. And that is why this game is my number 1.
Alright guys, there you have it, my top 10 favorite SNES games. Now I don't want to hear any hate comments because this is my personal opinion. These are my favorites. Now if you didn't see one of your favorites on this list, it's probably because I haven't played it, or it just didn't resonate with me like the rest of these did. Anyway, go easy on me guys. This was my first top 10 video, So it's probably going to seem a bit mediocre. It's probably going to seem like it's been done by an amateur, which it has, let's be honest. I am an amateur when it comes to stuff like this. But if I get enough support and enough likes possibly, and if you guys throw me some ideas down there, I'll probably get around to actually doing another top 10 video and actually putting more effort into it. I just kind of threw this together just to see how well it would do. So if you guys support me, I will try my best to do another top 10 video and actually put a little more effort into it. So if you guys want to see that, just hit the like button, possibly subscribe if you're new, leave some comments in the section below on any thoughts or ideas, or maybe even tell me what your favorite SNES game is. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.